Good evening. I'm Kyle Clark.
And I'm Jennifer Meckles. One fire burned through 2 homes in Denver tonight. It happened in the Green Valley Ranch neighborhood.
A family in one of those homes was there when it happened. 9 News reporter Rhea Jaws along now after speaking with them. Rhea?
Denver Fire Department says they were able to get the fire under control within 15 minutes. No one was hurt, and while everyone is safe, the family is now coming to terms with the amount of damage. On what seemed like a normal Friday,
they reported a heavy, large volume of fire threatening both homes and consuming the backyard.
Denver Fire responded to a backyard fire that started at this house and spread to the one next door.
No one was home in the original house.
But James Corntz and his wife were in theirs.
Actually, I was working in that corner. My wife, just all of a sudden, I hear her say, "James, fire, fire, there's a fire."
The 20-foot flames he saw, leaving behind a pile of rubble.
This was our kids' bikes. No, actually, it's the whole family's bikes. And in the shed, we had our tools. My son Caleb's and Isaac's. Yeah, that's their room.
Watching investigators survey the scene for a clue on the cause of the fire.
They said don't touch anything don't disturb anything until they're done with their investigations.
While assessing the damage himself.
And then now you kind of look at it and it's like, okay, what next? Doesn't feel good. For sure.
Trying to make sense of how this was how his Friday ended.
Happy Friday. I got to joke around with this right now because it's driving me nuts. There's a lot of things going in my head.
While the cause of the fire is still unknown, firefighters are on scene told us a barbecue grill was scorched at the house where the fire started. Rhea Cha, 9 News.
Strong windstorm caused problems for paddleboarders out at Stanley Lake today. Westminster Fire says Stanley Lake Rangers had to rescue 13 people. We've seen it out there before. The wind whips up the waves and creates dangerous conditions on the water. Firefighters say everyone got back okay. No one needed to go to the hospital. Firefighters say the people who were out there smartly wearing life jackets.
This is what it looked like in Fort Lupton today. 9 News viewer Christy Mueller sent this to us, showing gusts blowing everything around this afternoon.
Yeah, it kind of came on all of a sudden, Lauren. It was just like this beautiful day, and then all of a sudden the trees are whipping and stuff's flying around.
That's right. We had lots of outflow winds push through today, and that did give us some very gusty winds. We saw 67-mile-per-hour gusts reported out in Broomfield. Rocky Flats reported 62-mile-per-hour winds. We saw 60-mile-per-hour winds reported in Commerce City, Boulder, and out in Sterling. And even in downtown Denver, we saw winds gusting up to around 57 miles per hour. So very windy and out there this afternoon, and it really stuck around through a good portion of this evening. So we did have a severe thunderstorm warning over DIA, mostly for the winds that were gusting up to around 60 miles per hour. Yes, there was a little bit of rain there, then some pea-sized hail, but the wind was the biggest issue. That was allowed to expire at 8:30. But as we take a look at a couple of other areas around the state, we have a couple of showers across the northern plains over Ray right now, then one moving between Fort Morgan and Akron. And then as we take a look at the urban corridor, we're mostly dry here, some light rain showers and a couple of strikes of lightning just south of Castle Rock. Now, moving ahead to my 7-day forecast, we're going to talk about some strong storms that are in the forecast for tomorrow, as well as heavy rain and more storm chances for our Sunday, and then the return of very hot weather next week. So I'll have details on all of that just ahead.
4 people are hospitalized after a small plane crash today.
The aircraft caught fire in someone's front yard in Arvada.
Bonanza 150 is coming on. I'm losing power quickly. I might have to put it down somewhere. I'm trying to find a field or a park. I've got something in sight. I don't know where I am.
The National Transportation Safety Board says the small 6-seater plane took off from Centennial Airport around 9:15 this morning. It had some kind of an engine problem on the way to Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport in Broomfield. Crashed into a yard near Oberon Road and Carr Street, just west of Wadsworth.
At first glance, we can see that you can see that spruce tree off to your left. That's where the left wing hit first, that tall spruce tree. And then the aircraft did land on the roadway and skidded down the roadway and wound up in the backyard. Apparently, quite a bit of fuel was on board, so there was a post-crash fire.
The 4 people in that plane were all rushed to the hospital, some of them in critical condition, some in serious tonight. We know at least 2 of them are adults. It's not clear how old the other 2 are. This took all day to clear the wreckage. Workers were trying to dismantle the plane when it caught fire again this afternoon. Now the plane goes to a facility in Greeley for further investigation. And the NTSB says this investigation will likely be extensive. It all made for a very dramatic day for people in that Arvada neighborhood. Dee Williams lives nearby, and the plane clipped one of her trees. She did not realize what had happened until she walked outside. Now she says she's just thinking of those victims.
I just hope the people are all right, that it was in the crash.
And then Evan Sherlock was driving when he looked up and noticed something wasn't right with that plane.
I saw an airplane and its wings were tilting side to side, and out the back of it looked like fuel or something it was dumping. And next thing I know, you see a giant plume of smoke, and I was there within a minute. It was a bit frantic. There's a guy with a garden hose trying to spray things down. There was construction crews that were running over and giving people water, attending to the people who had left the plane.
Again, we know 4 people inside the plane hospitalized tonight. Nobody on the ground was hurt when that plane crashed.
Pilots are obviously juggling a lot of things while they're in the air, prepared to make life or death decisions on the spot. Our 9 News aviation expert Greg Feist says part of the investigation will be looking at whether that pilot did everything right.
Now the thing that the investigators have to determine, did the pilot do all of the things that was necessary as a pilot? Was this something that could have been predetermined before he even took off? Or was this something that happened en route and his decision making? That's going to be, I think, the focus of this investigation.
Feist says investigators should be looking into if there are any alternative landing spots the pilot might have gone to instead of trying to make the return to Centennial Airport. The Apollo 8 astronaut who took the iconic Earthrise photo in 1968 died in a plane crash today. Authorities say retired Major General William Anders was piloting alone when his plane fell into the waters off the San Juan Islands in Washington State. His son confirmed his death to the Associated Press. The NTSB and FAA are investigating the crash. William Anders was 90 years old.
In Adams County today, crews rushed to a car fire that quickly spread to some nearby bushes. This happened at Washington and 70th this afternoon. By the time firefighters got there, that car was fully on fire and totally destroyed. Today's strong winds helped spread those flames, but firefighters got it under control before it spread too far. A 10-year-old girl has died after a crash with a truck on a Forest Service road in Archuleta County. Colorado State Patrol says the girl was riding a dirt bike on a road near Pagosa Springs, went through a stop sign, didn't handle a sharp turn, and collided with a truck. CSP says the girl was wearing a helmet at the time, but still died from her injuries, and the driver stayed on scene.
Wildlife workers are investigating what they're calling a quote-unquote unprecedented third elk attack in Estes Park lately. This time it was a woman walking her dog who apparently got too close to a calf. CPW says the elk knocked her over and stomped on her. Monday, an elk attacked a 4-year-old boy near Stanley Park. Last week, an elk attacked an 8-year-old girl riding her bike. CPW is asking humans to be extra careful around elk until calving season ends, which is typically early summer.
The State Public Defender's Office says the details in an investigation into a former DNA scientist at the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, they're outrageous. Their words, an internal investigation found that Missy Woods manipulated evidence during her 29-year career in which she worked on hundreds of cases. There were years of warning signs. Colleagues at CBI raised concerns about her work in 2014 and in 2018. The State Public Defender's Office said in a statement, it could and should have been stopped years ago, but it wasn't.
This is not just one person. This is one person who is the lightning rod, but the reality is CBI had the opportunity to fix this years before, and they didn't. And because they chose not to, we have to question every other decision that they've made since regarding this.
CBI has found no evidence that Woods falsified any DNA matches. Rather, she cut corners, raising concerns about the reliability of her testing. The agency says there was a review of those accusations in 2018, but they were not shared with the CBI director at the time. A criminal investigation is now underway.